Real Madrid deserved it thanks to their second half performance as they get the victory, and the league title race is still just about alive. Remember, Barcelona winning yesterday. This is a must-win game for Real Madrid, and they take the win thanks to that late Valverde goal. 4 points separate the top two. Remember, there's midweek action and then the Copa del Rey final next Saturday. Luis Garcia joins us. We'll hear from Luis in a moment. But Craig, what a time for Valverde to do that.
Well, just when we were coming on air live, I was watching the monitor behind the cameras, and Ancelotti was giving Fede Valverde a hug like it was a son he hadn't seen for 20 years.
Yep.
Because that's how important it was. This looked like it was going to be a 6-point gap. It's now a 4-point gap. Still a big hurdle to get over, but it's there, isn't it? And it came at the end, which makes it even more special because they were throwing the kitchen sink at it. They felt aggrieved with the challenge on Bellingham. So that goes away now. It's not a big talking point. But Fede Valverde, I mean, we saw him had a chance midway through the first half. You remember when Modric played him in and Stevie said he tried to cut across it, didn't quite get his technique right on that occasion, but he is a player who has a big reputation for scoring wonder goals, great goals of where his technical ability to strike the ball was brilliant, and I dare say for all the great goals he has scored in his career, that's pretty much up there.
Luis, incredible late drama we saw yesterday, of course, of Barcelona coming from behind with that late penalty from Rafinha, that late goal for Valverde, and how that changed the whole narrative now over the next few days around Real Madrid.
Yeah, exactly, because after what we've seen in the first 45 and also in the second half, even though the Real Madrid was dominating the game, was controlling Athletic Club, I think it wasn't even there. It looks like for the Valverde side, it was the B team, first of all, and second of all, the intensity of this Athletic Club wasn't the right one. But it was Vinicius Junior he's been pushing from the first minute until the 90th, trying to show something extra. And these are the moments that the Real Madrid grabs to try to continue believe a big boost for them. To get that fantastic goal from Valverde. It has to come from a superb strike from Valverde to try to keep this race alive. And definitely those are the moments that Real Madrid start getting dangerous, because if there is 7 points away from Barcelona, and after this game where you could see there is no many ideas, no many reactions from Real Madrid players, but the small details of scoring that goal in the late minute give the boost to the crowd, give the boost to the supporter and also to the players to go midweek game against Getafe, win it, and arrive to the final of the Cup against Barcelona and make the difference. So I think it was a very important win once again, both for Barcelona and Real Madrid, to continue trying to get that momentum going and continue on the race for La Liga trophy.
It really brings the midweek fixtures into play again, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Where I can't remember in terms of who's playing.
So Tuesday, Barca have got Mallorca,
right,
and then Wednesday it's Real Madrid against Getafe.
So Barca know they can pile the pressure on. And by the way, Mallorca have had a great season. They're having a terrific season. I think they're 7th or 8th, something like that. And that's been a surprise. So there's just no easy games at this point of the season because of the pressure. But it certainly brings that back into the equation where when it was 6 points, there was a bit more leeway. All of a sudden, you know, if Barca, who didn't play well at the weekend, did score 4 goals, didn't defend very well against Celta de Vigo at all. If something was to crop up there and Real Madrid are to win, we're looking at a point before the Copa del Rey, and then obviously the Clásico's not far away. So it could swing very, very quickly, or again, it could be pretty much over.
That's why this goal was so key, Stevie, today.
To be so composed to deliver that strike, just frightening.
Well, Brahim Diaz got himself in the pickle, didn't he? He tried to beat 2 or 3 players, sort of lost the ball, it got away from him and he almost fell over. Defender panicked. Instead of, you know, he panicked, just sort of flicked a leg out at it, and it falls at Valverde, sort of scoops it up whichever way, and he's got only one thing in his mind, isn't he? Once it pops up, then that's it. It's either going in the top.
Like the feeling in the dressing room compared to if that hadn't gone in 0-0, or maybe we could have had a penalty, you know, the offside was harsh, to now, it's night and day.
Never mind them. The 3 of us are completely different than we were waiting for this game to finish. Because we're all sitting going, no, it's over.
Yeah.
Another rotten performance.
Yes.
6
games to go, what we're going to talk about.
All of a sudden now we're going, hold on a minute. They win that game. There's only a point in it. One goal has completely transformed everybody's thought process. So can you imagine what a dressing room's like?
No, they were better. To be fair to them, they were much better in the second half.
We saw more of Bellingham, didn't we, than we've seen of late?
Yeah, we saw him getting into the box. We saw him getting on the ball. We saw Vinicius Junior running at players, and a bit frustrating when he's always trying to cross it with the outside of his right boot when he's on the left-hand side. And it was one obviously brilliant ball he played in particular for Bellingham. But we did see Bellingham in a lot better areas, a lot more threatening areas. Rodrigo was quiet, that was one of the downsides. But at the end of the day, we're at the stage of the season now, Ancelotti could not give a stuff about performance. It is only about results.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's what he's there for. That's the only thing that matters. This Hansi Flick they'd have been sitting in Barcelona going, please, just make it to the end, because the pressure now just cranks up on them for these. Again, the midweek fixtures are just absolutely now back in play.
It does make it. I know from a Barcelona perspective, maybe this isn't the result you wanted, Luis, but obviously you're an objective pundit now, so tough.
Yes, of course. Actually, I'm enjoying. I think that we were all looking, because if Real Madrid just lost today or got a draw and Barcelona goes away and win the midweek game, it's kind of game over. We were looking forward to the final, but definitely this is a race that's still alive. I think it was very important also for La Liga to have those two teams continue competing until the last moment. We all know that Atletico Madrid is probably out of the equation, so I'm just glad to see that Real Madrid, even though suffering until the last moment and because of that fantastic strike, we can see that it's going to be alive, this competition, and well, the midweek games we are going to see a lot of pressure on both teams.
Thank you very much, Luis. Just a reminder, those big midweek games live and exclusive on ESPN+. As we mentioned, on Tuesday, Barcelona taking on Mallorca, and then 24 hours later, Getafe against Real Madrid. How many points will separate the two as we head into the Copa del Rey final next Saturday? A win for Liverpool, as I mentioned, then one step closer. Leicester didn't get a shot on goal in that game. For Liverpool, they are home and hosed, aren't they? They will be the champions of England, given the distance between them and Arsenal at 13 points. Meanwhile, it's confirmed Leicester are relegated. No surprise, obviously. It will be Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton who will be going down, given what we've seen from all three sides so far this season. Stevie, you watch this. I suppose the big talking point out of it, is it Trent? Are you going to miss him? You're going to miss moments like this when he leaves?
Well, yes. I mean, the guy in the attacking half of the field is as good as any fullback that's ever played the game in terms of going forward. Yes, it's, as I said, it's not his most stylish strike ever, but it's just something that he can do that not many fullbacks can. He either can play the killer pass, or he can be the guy on the end of it who puts it in the back of the net. So 100% if he goes from an attacking sense,
right,
Liverpool will miss him.
Obviously, there's talking of Conor Bradley, makeshift replacement, but he doesn't give you that same sort of attack going forward, and that's something you will miss. And is that something you're going to have to deal with going into next campaign?
If he goes, yes, I would expect Liverpool to sign somebody, because regardless of whether you think Conor Bradley's good enough or not, his record recently in terms of picking up injuries isn't good. He's missed a lot of games for a young player. But you need competition, and there isn't competition if you've only got Conor Bradley. So I would expect Liverpool, if they do lose Trent Alexander-Arnold, to go and sign another right-sided fullback.
Word on Leicester, Craig, written in the stars, really. This was no surprise, given what we saw.
I think they were always likely to go down. I think for Enzo Maresca, although he's under pressure somewhat at Chelsea, I think at least he's obviously left and had something to work with. I think had he stayed, the scenario may have been the same,
right,
to be honest. But I think they may have gone down with more of a fight. I think the appointment of Van Nistelrooy, quite frankly, just absolutely put the nail in the coffin that we're going to go. I think that was a knee-jerk reaction, to be honest, to what he did at Man United, what maybe did a little bit in Holland. I don't think they really thought it out. And it's a little sad to see that, you know, the teams, all three teams coming up, are all going to go back down.
The manner in which I think they've all gone down.
Yeah,
there's been no fight.
What you want is, and I know it doesn't happen all the time, and there have been other teams that have come up, stayed up and had success, but generally most of the teams have struggled. And it's really not a good look for those coming out of the Championship. The likelihood is they're going to be going straight back to where they came from. Now, again, Forest came up, stayed up, have done particularly well. There have been others. But this year, I mean, Ipswich for sure are giving themselves the best chance. But, yeah, it's disappointing to see because as hard as it is when you get relegated, sometimes the relegation fight can be quite intriguing when there's 5 or 6 teams in there because of what's at stake. But this year it's been pretty obvious from early on.
It's interesting the word you used there, fight. See, teams previously coming up, they could fight and they could get away with that and play the game that way. The way the game's played today, you can't physically fight people. It's got to be a game of football. And the difference between teams coming up and the teams that have solidified themselves in the Premier League in terms of ability, that's the problem. And so you can't make up for not having the quality by fighting people, because the game, the way it's played today, doesn't allow you to do that. And so it's just going to make it even harder for anybody that does come up.
Ipswich failing to muster a single... Ipswich and Leicester both failing to have a shot on target. For more on this, Frank Leboeuf watched this game for us. Frank, overall, it was interesting, wasn't it, to see if there'd be a hangover or what sort of team he put out. And obviously, it was kind of a mix, resting some players, other players given the opportunity to start. But overall, if you're Arsenal, you're delighted, aren't you, with this?
Definitely. I think Arteta did everything that he needed to do to make sure that some players could rest, some others can come on and play some minutes, and also some others went out. It was, I think, safer to put Saka out. I think he should have done it half-time. But overall, that was a smart move from Arteta. And the players have been so professional, so organized, structured. They did what they had to do. They respected Ipswich Town, and it's why they won 4-0. Players were spot on. I loved the second goal. I mean, the Saka cross with the Merino. I think he did it on purpose. I think he really wanted to get Martinelli. Well, you know, I want to believe that he did it because I see his head turning. So I want to believe that he did it on purpose. And that was great at the end of the day. Not everything was spot on from the Gunners, and nothing to complain about. That's the best way to get a game and to get the 3 points after a great qualification in the Champions League.
It's an interesting balancing act, isn't it? You've got Palace midweek, then another game, obviously Premier League, and then it all starts again against PSG in the Champions League.
Week after next.
It's like, how do you kind of keep that momentum going, keep your players fresh, but then not risk any sort of injuries?
It's an occupational hazard, isn't it? You're not going to rest everybody because you want them to have that sharpness. Yeah. You want them to have that momentum and the confidence, and seeing the goals go in like they are and the little flicks by Merino, whether he meant it or not. Making sure your key players don't get injured. The game changers like Saka, who's back after a few months out. And we saw how key he was against Real Madrid. So it is a balancing act, but you want your players to be sharp enough but rested enough going into the game. So you've had that game time where you're getting touches of the ball, you're getting your sharpness, you're getting some challenges in, but you're not tired and you're fresh enough to go out and play that. It's PSG, isn't it?
Certainly is.
And so you're going to need it for that, because they're a side that like to keep possession. Arsenal do as well. So it's going to be a battle of wits. Who's going to be chasing the tango in this game? Who's going to be chasing the ball the most? So that's Palace will be a tough one because they're a decent side. But I think he'll make more changes for that. Right. And then at the weekend, I think probably make some more, and then next week.
It is interesting, Stevie, because in theory, you just like, just wrap someone like Saka up in cotton wool until the first leg of the Champions League. But as Craig mentioned, it can't work like that. So explain to us from a coach's perspective, is it instinct? You're speaking to your staff, you're speaking to the player. Like, how are you working out how many minutes these players should be getting?
Well, I think the biggest thing is by now you should understand how each individual player, what makes them tick. Each individual player, some will be better off getting an hour in a game. Right. Some will be better off getting 45. That'll be enough for them. So you have to understand what your players are about, and then you work from there. Obviously, you've got so much staff now that you can just hand it off to somebody and say, right, I need to know in the last 4 weeks how many minutes he's had, how many he should have had, how many he needs, how many he doesn't. It's just all the data, basically. You put it together and then you figure it out.
But I mean, Saka, for example, we take him as one of the main guys. You need him. If they are going to win this Champions League, they're going to need all their main players. They're big I mean, they're all good players.
Firing on all cylinders.
They're all very, very good players, but there are some of them that are just game changers, and he's one of them. But you look at him, he's probably needing some minutes after 4 months out.
Okay.
Or whatever it was. He's had some, and he's looked sharp, and he looked good against Real Madrid. But after that long out, after a few games here and there, you're still chasing it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But it was a hamstring injury, and it was a bad one.
Right.
So then you're now thinking to yourself as a manager in a medical department, right, he's had a bit of game time. Is he sharp enough that we give him a rest, or do we need to give him a half against Palace or a half there? It is a difficult juggling act, because that hamstring injury that he had, talking about him in particular, when it's keeping you out for as long as that, then that's about as nasty as they come. So it's not easy. It is not, and it's why they get paid the big bucks, the managers. And thus far, he seems to be doing a pretty good job of it. And I'm sure come the PSG game, apart from the suspensions, he'll have pretty much the players that he wants.
Frank, as a player, for example, when you're building up something like the FA Cup final, what would you prefer?
I want to play. I mean, I love to play, especially because I was at the back as well. You normally run less than people playing as midfielder, and you are less in a position of risk, I would say, than people playing forward. So you want to play. You want to play 90 minutes. You want to go out, and you want to play every game. Now it depends on it's really up to the coaches and the assistant coach and the physical coach to decide whether you should stay or not. But nowadays, as Stevie alluded, you have so many people, so you know exactly how many games they played, how many minutes they played, who should rest and not. But as a player, you want to play. I think Saka himself, I think maybe Arteta wanted him to go out half time, but I think he said, "Oh, I want to try because he wants to play." He missed playing games, but I think it was safer again to put him out after. But if you're a player, especially when you had 4 months off, you want to play. And as defenders, mostly, I don't know what Stevie thinks, you want to play every game.
Lazy.
But you know, the Saka thing, for example, the challenge he took today, you couldn't really see that coming. But I don't know what you think as a player. When you get into this scenario, you know you're not going to win the league now. So the big game is obviously the Champions League, because you've cemented, you're placed in the top 4. The other big thing's gone. So you can still play and get your sharpness, and if you're clever enough, you can see the challenges that you really want to get into and see the ones that you don't.
Okay.
You don't have to put yourself in a position where you're putting yourself in danger of like a 50-50. What you can't control is somebody like Saka today, where the player comes down the back of you. You can't control that, but what you can do is, if there's a 50-50 there, is not jump into it with 2 feet as if it's the last minute of the last game of the season. That's what you can control, and I think if you're a player, you're just taking the foot off the gas a little bit to make sure I'm not getting myself in a crazy situation.
So it finishes Chelsea 2, Fulham 1. Taking a look at what that means then for the race for the top 5. Newcastle 3rd at the moment, City 4th, Chelsea move up to 5th. Forest in action against Spurs tonight. It's really tight. It's going to go right down to the wire with 5 games to go in the Premier League. Here is the Chelsea manager.
How important was that Pedro Neto goal, and how much does that change the outlook of the season when you're competing for Champions League football?
Personally, the goal from Pedro doesn't change my view from the season. I said 3-4 days ago, and I will repeat, Chelsea the last 2 years never been in Champions League spot, and this season we spent all season there. So today win doesn't change my view. It's already a good season and can become very good if we finish Champions League spot, no doubt. But for sure today was an important win, because first of all it's a derby, second give us the chance to be there.
I'm not a Chelsea fan, but is that what you want to be hearing from your coach, Frank?
What is he talking about?
Not really. But he's right in a way that it's been a while since Chelsea has been in a Champions League spot. That's the truth. But because of who? Because of the changing of tactics, I think, in the board when you want to go for the trading business. But that's true that I think for me today it changed a lot. Fulham is out of the race, and you are back into the race. A draw would have been for me a definite answer to the chase. You would have been out. You would have been simply out of the Champions League spot. So I don't know why he makes that kind of comment. So now he can be proud of it. But at the end of the day, it's because of Neto doing something fantastic. And in fact, Chelsea got the revenge from Fulham. The first game that they had at Stamford Bridge, it was completely the inverse scenario where Fulham scored during the extra time and everything. So that's great for Chelsea. That's great for the young players because they're going to bring the confidence. But so many things didn't work. The first half was horrendous, and it was better the second half, mostly because Fulham didn't fight. But we are far away from the Chelsea we used to fight for the fourth spot. So everybody has to calm down. That's pretty good. I don't know if they're going to reach it. We'll see. But we are very much far away from what we are expecting from a Chelsea Football Club.
Big result, huge result. But you like a little flutter, a little gamble. When the horse is halfway around the track and the race is halfway run, the bookmakers don't pay out. They don't pay out. They don't pay out at the start. They don't pay out halfway through. They pay out at the end, and that's all that matters. The end. Yes, Chelsea played some great football early in this season. Probably some of the best in the league in terms of entertainment. But that's gone flat. And they started today, I believe, in seventh. So it was all about today's result. As much as Enzo Maresca can say, no. If they finish in, say, seventh, if they finish outside, right, and they're in the Conference or the Europa League, do you think he sits in front of Bowley or the others and the board and says, well, give me some credit. We're in Champions League spot halfway through the season. It matters not a jot, does it?
No.
It's about where you are then. It's a bit like winning and losing the league. It doesn't count where you are in the middle of the season. I'm stating the obvious, but that's kind of what he's saying here.
But you know what? What I want him to, if I'm a fan, I want him to say, we've got ourselves in a great position now. Fate's in our hands. We've got 6 finals. If we can get the results, then we can be in the Champions League next season. That was so dour and kind of like, well, no one thought we were going to be here. We've done brilliant. It's like, what are you doing?
So what? Chelsea the last 3 years haven't been in Champions League. That's the reason you were brought here. You were brought here to get them in Champions League, and you're barely scraping by, because that's what you're doing. And the way your team played in the first half today, it was almost as if they felt they didn't have an opportunity to get in the Champions League. Somehow he got them going at half time because they were a different team in the second half. In terms of desire, they didn't play good football, but the desire was there, and just sheer effort and commitment is what got them through. In terms of the way they played, I mean, Cole Palmer, I was actually looking around the field halfway through the second half to see if Cole Palmer had been taken off. I thought I'd missed it. But the way they're playing, you can't rely on them every time they turn up right now that they're going to win a game, because they're not a team. And they got by today because of Neto's just individual brilliance.
Yeah, he was good. You know, he's another one out of the Guardiola school of sort of, I don't know, anger or frustration or, almost as if, don't ask me. Arteta's the same. Another one that's worked under Guardiola at times. I'm not on today, but, in times when he's been questioned and he's come out with some stuff. You remember Guardiola after he beat Bournemouth in the FA Cup quarter-final?
7 semi-finals in a row.
And he was questioned about the job and how his team did well to come back. And he went off on about how incredible these semi-finals. Incredible. You're questioning me. And Maresca's almost saying, you're questioning me. We were in the top 4 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago. I mean, it's kind of missing the point. At the end of the day, he'll be judged on where he is when the season finishes. But again, I go back to that point. He's not going to sell himself for the next 2 or 3 years as a Chelsea manager if they're 6 or 7.
That's almost what I feel like he's doing. He's like trying to remind everyone, look, the bar was so low at the start of the season. Don't expect us to do anything special.
But what gets me is there, and this is undeniable, there has been a definitely huge tail-off in the way they go about getting their victories. Mm-hmm. It is, and there is and we've talked about this before, there is an element of his previous club in there where they were outstanding for 6 months, Leicester, and then fell over the line to get up into the Premier League, with even Leicester fans calling for his head. I'm not suggesting that was right, but that's kind of where their form was. And Chelsea's form is very, very similar. Outstanding when he's first come in. In fact, it took us aback. We're going, my God, he's getting Jackson playing. Look at this. Look at the speed they're playing at. And somehow that has sort of evaporated back into this sort of pedestrian performance. They deserve to win the game today.
Second half.
Second half. Don't get me wrong.
Second half.
Marco Silva dropped the ball here. He had a striker up front who was flagging, who was knackered, and Raul Jimenez. He hasn't had many games. And it was gone 80 minutes, I think, before he took him off. So they couldn't get out.
I like when you looked at your watch.
Just seen when the end of the show was. And they couldn't get out, and so the pressure just kept coming and just kept coming.
Go on, Frank.
No. I really think, and I was just thinking that all coaches who are going to the post-game speeches at the end of their own games have to calm down and show a little bit of humility. This season is really an off-season for Premier League to even fight for the 4 spots in the Champions League. It's already saying that you're not doing the job. I mean, Liverpool did the job. Arsenal did a little bit of the job. The rest, and we put Nottingham Forest out, of course, but the rest, and maybe Newcastle, but we see the result of Newcastle today again. They are showing so much inconsistency that you cannot rely on that season and say, oh, we were doing good like 4 months ago. Now we had 2 days ago, we had a good game, and now we are back to our best. No, shut up, because right now it's a big mess. The Premier League this season hasn't been so messy that I ever seen. So that's crazy for me. And that's the first time that I'm a little bit concerned about the Premier League, really, that season.
Yeah, that's why Aston Villa was such a shining light yesterday. Well, how Manchester United wish they were in the conversation to be finishing in the top 5. Oh, do you want to? Oh, we take a look at Chelsea running. Okay, we're going to have a look at Chelsea running. There it comes. Sorry.
Oh, the top 5 again. He's freaking infatuated
Good luck.
with it.
This wasn't on purpose. Chelsea running. There you go. Liverpool might be champions by then.
Yeah,
I mean, it's Chelsea. You don't know what you're going to get.
So you look at that, right, and you cannot turn around and say, well, we're going to win that one, and that one. That one might be tough. You just don't know.
Aye.
There's not one game there where you're going to say, oh, 100% they are absolutely going to win. I mean, you're not.
No.
Because of the way they're playing.
Tomorrow,
Tomorrow,
who's going to make the top 5?
Spurs Forest.
What a
Tomorrow,
tee-up.
isn't it? There you go. Right then. Take a look at this. Manchester United sitting 14th in the table. That win for Wolves puts them level on points with them. We thought we'd just take a look at Ruben Amorim's Premier League record since coming in and taking over. He's lost 11 games out of 22. The goals have dried up. There's just been nothing really for the fans to get excited about. So how much do we say, right, you give them a pass because what happened on Thursday, or how much do you go,
Well, Thursday was desperation. Thursday they were gone out of that as well.
Yeah.
Until they had no choice. That's not about training ground stuff. That's not about tactics or something. That's just about turning to your bench and going, right, just throw on what I got, get the defenders up.
Yeah, Maguire centre forward.
So that's just one of those. I suppose the question would be for United fans, how much is this Europa League run going to mask over the rest of this garbage?
Yeah.
Because that's awful. And I think the fact that Tottenham, and we talked about this when we were off air, the fact that Tottenham and Man United are in the semi-finals of the Europa League, I think it just tells you the standard of that you shouldn't take into account where you're progressing as a club or not progressing by the fact you're having a cup run. I mean, Eric Ten Hag was, a couple of Carabao Cup win and an FA Cup win. It can happen. The league, Stevie will tell you, very rarely lies.
It tells you.
Very rarely lies.
Yep.
And what we're seeing here, and that graphic with the 11 losses, I could understand if Ruben Amorim had come in and he wants to play that. I'm fed up listening to it. This is his system, the 3 at the back and all that. I could understand if they're struggling to score goals because some of the players they've got, quite frankly, they're not good enough. But he should be able to organise this team with this structure in a way where they're at least difficult to beat. Mm-hmm. They're at least difficult to score against. But they are neither. They're neither good at that end or good at this end. And we know that they've already got problems in the middle. So I honestly, if you ask me, I don't know where we are with this manager. I don't know. I can only imagine what... I'd love to be a fly in the wall at a board meeting and listen to how they're discussing how they're going to progress, how he's progressing and how they go forward. I'd love to know what the plan is to get out of this mire. I don't know.
I don't think, again, why are we supposed... We said it after Lyon, that enjoy the next few days because it's going to give everybody a smile on their face, but unfortunately, you're going to have to play another game.
Right.
And then we'll be back to where we were. And surprise, surprise, that's exactly it. I mean, I'm listening to Craig and I'm thinking, you know, Postecoglou is going to lose his job because of what's going on at Tottenham right now. What's the difference between what's going on at Tottenham and what's going on at United? There's absolutely no difference. So then why should Amorim be safe? But then,
I suppose just because of what's
length of time,
what he's
I suppose.
taken over from, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but you've got to question the manager. You know, it's one thing, and I agreed to begin with that him playing his system that he wants to play is going to be a good idea because the ones that he's going to keep, they'll know it, and then when he brings in other players, they'll be able to join in, and then it becomes a little culture, and that's how the club goes. But there comes a point when you can't win a game and you're losing so many games that you have to change. And it's exactly what we said about Ange Postecoglou. There comes a point where you can't play lovely, open, attractive football, which, by the way, United haven't even done. You have to change, and he's not changing. And 100%, if you're on the board of Manchester United and you're sitting there and you're not asking questions and saying, hold on a minute, we got rid of one manager, but this next manager has made us worse. Yeah. Because this team's worse under Amorim than it is under Ten Hag.
Which is interesting, because the opposite's happened at Wolves, in the sense that they made the switch, didn't they? Yep. And there's been no big change. You've still got the same squad of players, yet it's 5 wins in a row for them now. And it shows that a good manager coming in can make a difference with a bad squad. Yeah.
I already thought they had decent players. I mean, Gary O'Neill, to be fair to him, the year before, got a very good tune out of them. And then, for whatever reason, they just seemed to be disharmony. And they were not playing well. And then Vida Pereira comes in, he gets the early manager bounce, then loses it a little bit, but then they're obviously working away and gets it back. 5 games in any league, particularly the Premier League, when you're a team in the bottom half, 5 wins in the spin is excellent. So you can make a difference.
Exactly, that's what it's saying. That's what your coach can make.
You can make a difference. And I think the worry for United is the supporters will all be thinking and looking, who are we going to sign? Who? And I get it. I get it. But that one of the biggest concerns I would have is, how can we get the bulk of these players out? And I think that is a much bigger problem than going into the market and competing with other big clubs for signing players. Because hardly anybody, and listen, you're probably going to get Marcus Rashford coming back, unless Villa are going to stump up big money, big wages. So, and we all know this manager will be like, I don't want him back. It's toxic. I don't like him, and Rashford, I would imagine, would not want to play for this guy after what Amorim said about him, and I can understand both sides of that. But United's big issue is they have spent a lot of money on completely mediocre players, and now you're going to have to go to other clubs and agents and say, hey, buy my players and pay their wages. That's going to be a problem.
As we mentioned, one more game to come on Monday in this round of fixtures in the Premier League. Spurs against... good luck predicting this. That game, of course, tomorrow. We'll be talking about it on the next edition of the show. So what a difference a goal makes, eh?
Yeah, it really does. The second half, of course, was significantly better than the first. But even so, if they hadn't got over the line, if they hadn't got that sensational goal from Valverde in the 93rd minute, it would have been a negative night for Real Madrid. As it is, they can spin it into a positive. They're still in the title race. They maintain that 4-point gap behind leaders Barcelona. They didn't give up. They kept going. They improved steadily as the game went on. I was just listening to Carlo Ancelotti in his post-match press conference. Of course, he was full of praise for Valverde, talking about him being the key with that goal. The other player, though, getting a lot of praise from Ancelotti was Vinicius Junior. And I think that's interesting because Vinny Junior has got a lot of stick over the last few weeks, and rightly so, because he hasn't been at his best. He hasn't been kind of consistently influential this season, certainly compared to last year. But he was very good today. He was the one player right the way through until the Valverde goal who looked most like making something happen. He kept going, kept running at the defence. He had that goal disallowed in the 80th minute. Ancelotti accepted that because, of course, it's semi-automatic offside, so there's not really any room for debate there. But Ancelotti praised Vinicius's attitude, his work off the ball as well. That's been something that Ancelotti hasn't always been happy with in the last couple of months. It's been quite noticeable during games. He's had 1 or 2 words with Vinicius about working off the ball. But he was really pleased with Vinicius today and said, look, he will be a key player for us in the next couple of weeks.
Alex, good man. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Just a reminder, as we mentioned before, big games in La Liga this week. On Tuesday, Barca against Mallorca. Wednesday, Real Madrid away against Getafe. All those matches live and exclusive on ESPN+. huge result, meanwhile, in the race for the Serie A title. Bologna beaten Inter by 1-0, meaning with 5 games remaining, both Inter and Napoli on 71 points apiece. What is interesting, if it finishes with both teams level, there will be a one-off playoff match to decide who will be champions, because head-to-head is even between the two sides this season. A lot more of that, I'm sure, on the next edition of the Gab and Jules podcast. Gab's still on holiday. Jules will be joined by Don to discuss a busy weekend in Italy and beyond. Columbus Crew taking on Inter Miami. It would just take 30 minutes for Miami to score what proved to be the winning goal. Kramashi here with the header.
Yeah, it's a super header. Great ball across as well. Just a good move all round. Nice long ball out to the wide areas. First time ball in. Throws his body at the ball and he gets it in the back of the net.
Great start to the season for Mascherano and Inter Miami. Meanwhile, feisty affair between Portland Timbers and the LAFC.
I'll get this one because I've looked up the bridge.
Oh, where is the bridge?
Between North Queensferry and South Queensferry, linking Edinburgh to Fife.
Oh,
Well, Perth's in Fife.
Perth's not in Fife.
It is.
Perth's in the West Coast.
right. Hugo Lloris
Fife's in the East
brings that
Coast.
more to me.
Right.
Give a penalty.
Way more important than this.
Felipe Mora then stepping up. Yes. To give Portland a 1-0 advantage. Just before the break, it would be 2-0. Santiago Moreno with the second. Got plenty of time to pick his spot.
Yeah, you must have. That. I think they call that composure, Dan. Defender is a complete shocker here. That's a nice little dink across. And then look at this for cool and calm.
Olivier Giroud has never scored in MLS. He has now.
Oh, the pressure's off.
It's not a bad way to break your duck, isn't it?
21 games it took him to score.
That's
He's enjoying himself.
surprising.
Into the second half we go. David Martinez would make it 2-2.
Yeah, nice low hard cross. Just redirects it.
And then moments later, Portland retake the lead. Felipe Mora here, getting on the score sheet again.
Look at this for a leap. And then Mora finishes it off.
Now, controversy here. Igor Jesus goes down. Nothing is called. Steve Cherundolo, not happy whatsoever. He would be sent off. Of course, announced he'll be leaving the club at the end of the year.
I'm not so sure there's anything,
I don't think
anything
he's
wrong with that.
No. But here, there would be a penalty awarded. Nothing's given originally.
Yeah, that's a penalty.
Hey, hung
Catches him.
with
Yes, catches him.
Phil Neville. Whoa, very angry. I'm very angry about that. Boanga steps up. Let's hear, shall we, from Neville after the game.
I've got to say, I think the sending off of Steve Cherundolo was an absolute disgrace. I really do. I got a yellow card at the end for taking my players away from the referee. I thought that I was showing respect. I thought I was doing my job. I thought I was protecting and showing respect to a set of referees that didn't do us any favours, that have never done us any favours. And I get a yellow card, and maybe I'm suspended for the next game for actually trying to help them. But that's it. Done. That's it, me done with them.
Okay, we'll open it up to questions.
And we will get a report, and they'll say that I was causing dissent. I was getting my players away from the officials. And Steve Cherundolo should never have been sent off. Should never have been sent off on any game of football in the whole world. And what we're seeing now is that we've just played a 3-3 game against one of the best teams, an incredible advert of football. And I just think that they just want to be the kings of the castle. It's all about them. They just want to show that they are the main people in this league. And unfortunately, it's not good.
Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Frank, do you know where the fourth bridge is?
Perth is in the East Coast as well, by the way. It's not in the West.
No.
This, yeah, I'm sure you're
not.
fascinated
No clue.
by that debate.
No, I don't know.
Hold on.
Perth isn't on the West Coast.
There's an argument.
You
it's
go to
saying-
Perth up past Glasgow. Glasgow's in the West Coast.
Guys,
Glasgow's on the West Coast. Perth's not.
How come you don't know your country? How come you don't know your country, guys?
Sam Frank.
So you said the fourth bridge was in Perth.
Yeah.
Craig then said it isn't, and then this has ensued throughout. It's been fascinating. It's like a top 5.
Oh, hold on. The Forth Road Bridge links North Queensferry to South Queensferry. That's in the outside of Edinburgh.
Tell him, not me.
Edinburgh's on the
Tell
east
him, not
coast.
I
He's
do.
not listening. Hold on.
It links it to the east coast, which is Perth.
Oh, I don't know.
It links. That's
At this point, I'm going to throw myself off the damn bridge.
Right, Frank, you weren't with us for the Real Madrid discussion, but I'm sure you saw it. Where does Valverde's goal rank in terms of late goal stunners?
I would say one of the best in the world, because I think the control is not that good, but he managed to make it beautiful with the volley and the outside of the foot. And because it's the last chance that you have to in the game, it makes it beautiful. And that was amazing. I mean, it makes people going back home, if they are a Real Madrid fan, being happy.
Yeah.
You forget about everything what happened before. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely right. Did Stevie rip his own shirt off when Trent scored? You weren't in a shirt that time of day, were you? No. You were still in the robe.
No.
Still in your Hugh Hefner.
I was sat in my bed with my house coat on
Yeah, housecoat.
and my pipe.
Housecoat's got to be... Does that translate to American people in my ear? Housecoat? No.
No.
Yeah, a robe.
Smoking
Yeah, a
jacket.
robe. Yeah, a robe. A smoking jacket.
No, I don't know.
Are you
was a guess.
Are you fond of a robe, Frank? Wandering around your
What
house?
you mean, like being?
Bathrobe.
No, not at all. No, I'm not.
That's a no.
No, I don't like it. No.
No, you don't like it. Don't even look at me. I don't own one.
When do you start on robes? Stevie, Slot, Company and Flick are all presumptive champions in their respective leagues.
Right.
Who has impressed you the most?
I'll flick.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I thought we were going to go Liverpool bias there.
Hold on, they're not all champions.
Presumptive.
No, the presumptive.
Oh, so I missed that part.
Yeah. None of them are champions. in
Well,
fact.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to go with flick. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody saw this coming. Not just winning, but the way they're playing. I mean, it's just great to watch. They're probably the best team to watch right now on the
Even
planet.
though you said yesterday that Liverpool would beat Barcelona.
It's got nothing to do with how good they are to watch.
Right, okay. I'm just saying.
Is it?
I'm not just bringing that up.
but you said no, but you just said that nobody saw Barcelona coming. Did anybody see the Liverpool story coming? I don't think so.
Now, Frank predicted Liverpool to win the league.
All right, move on.
Yeah,
Move on. Next question. What else?
So would you say Slot over
I
Flick?
like that.
No, I wouldn't have said that. I was just mainly joining in the conversation.
That's nice.
Thank you very much.
So you just try to be clever.
Forth Road Bridge. What the hell is it?
Frank?
Definitely Slot, because after the Klopp era, I never thought that somebody would be that good to.
Frank, you
Yeah, go on.
predicted Liverpool to win the league.
Yeah, but it's still a surprise because I never thought he would be capable of. I thought it would be possible because I
You
thought
picked
that.
them.
Picked him.
Because I thought, for me, why I put Liverpool? Because I think they were the most ready to step over Manchester City. And I said at a certain point, one day, City will slip. And they did. And they weren't that good. And the next two to get the title would be Liverpool. But I'm still amazed by what Slot was capable of doing. Even if I were thinking of it, I'm still surprised.
So you not only predicted the Liverpool win, but he also predicted the Man City demise.
You got both. Both of them.
Frankie
right.
boy.
Very good.
Wow.
Frankie.
Genius.
I know my Premier League. I'm sorry, guys. I know my Premier League very well.
What? Ask him about why he had Nottingham Forest to be relegated. Oh, no. Disappointed, Frank.
No, because I don't know the Championship very well. That's my concern.
Forest were playing in the Premier League last season. I think you're okay.
Come on.
For the boys, more intriguing matchup. PSG against Arsenal or Barca against Inter?
More intriguing. For me, PSG against Arsenal.
Right.
Because I think the Barca Inter game, we kind of know
What we're going to get.
what the flow of the game probably is going to be. With Inter trying to play a bit more defensive. I think the Arsenal-PSG game, I don't see any of them trying to take a back step here. And it's who's going to get control of it.
Yeah, PSG Arsenal.
PSG Arsenal?
Yeah. Both of them are going to try and win the game. Inter are trying to win the game, but they're not interested in how they do it. Whereas PSG and Arsenal want to win it on the front foot.
You agree, Frank?
I do. I remember that I said it might be the game of the century. I said the last time I was in the show. Now that's going to be very interesting because they're going to go for the win, and it can be two crazy legs. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Final question. I'm just searching this up because I'm not sure if it's an actual story, but it doesn't seem to be a story. You just turned 17, had a huge growth spurt, and now you're a superstar at Wickham. The whole world is looking for your transfer this summer. Which team would you pick? United, City, Chelsea, Villa, Newcastle, Real Madrid, Barca, Juve, PSG. Where are you going to go?
What's a growth spurt got to do with it?
I think it's just someone who's just playing a little...
Not that you'd know.
No, exactly. I'm still waiting for mine at 44.
Well, you know, don't give up.
No, exactly.
No Liverpool?
Where you go? You put Liverpool. I'll just put Liverpool on the list.
Which team do you put?
Which one would you go to, Frank? Let's just say any place in the world.
I think I want to play. I want to make sure I'm going to play. If you go to a club with only stars, you won't have a chance to play. So I think Villa and Newcastle would be my targets to make sure that I have a chance to play.
See, I would say Barcelona because they've got so many financial problems. You're in there and you know that they can't keep buying people to replace you. Hence we've seen like the youngsters come through as a result of that.
But you've not had that growth spurt.
No, I know,
You can't go.
I'm in this fantasy, and I think out of everyone, Frank's got a good point in that you want to play.
Yeah.
Barcelona have got the financial restrictions which stop them from buying people to replace you, so they have to work on you and let you play.
I would go PSG. Because I think you've got more chance of playing in PSG.
Right.
Because there's going to be more opportunities.
Yes.
If you've not quite reached a certain standard yet as a 17-year-old, I think there's more opportunity at PSG to not only play and train with a great team, but to get more minutes.
And you get to live near Frank.
And then you can go and have
you can go take your
lunch
dress,
or dinner
dress, what's it called? Home dress?
Smoking jacket?
No, you call it something else. House dress.
House coat.
House coat.
You can go and have dinner with Frank because you've got very similar tastes.
Yeah.
Go around there with your house coat.
Exactly, the same. Exactly the same.
Where would you go, Craig?
Villa.
You go to Villa because you got purple pants on today.
Are they purple?
I think they're definitely maroon, aren't they?
No, maroon. Not only short, you're colourblind.
What? They're what? Maroon?
Wine.
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 What? Merlot?
Nice.
Where are we
Cabernet.
Cabernet, yeah.
What colour did you call them?
I called them maroon, didn't I?
No, I did.
Yeah.
Oh.
I called them maroon.
All right.
Just telling you.
Got a bit moody today, isn't it?
Just telling you.
All right, it's
Let's get it right.
That bridge has got you angry.
We need to go there.
That is it.
That's a burgundy. It can be a burgundy colour.
Yeah. Burgundy?
Yeah.
ESPN FC is back on your screens tomorrow. Will Nottingham Forest finish in the top 5? I tell you what, their result against Spurs will be a big indicator as to what will happen in that Champions League race. We'll be all over it.